Hi, everybody. I'm Dennis Prager. This is the Fireside Chat. Every week, we have not missed a week in 160 or so, correct? I mean, that's really something. And I'm very grateful because it means that I'm a pretty healthy dude. I mean, forget COVID. I didn't even have, a bad cold. I'm very lucky in that way. There's a lot of luck in life. That's an interesting topic. Because I'm a religious person, but I do know that there is luck in life. And a lot of religious people think that compromises God's power if there's luck, but God has built a world where that's inevitable. I mean, if you're hit by a drunk driver, it's bad luck. Unless you believe that God made the driver drunk and made sure that driver killed you or hurt you. Anyway, there is luck. I'll address that another time, but it's a very interesting subject, and it's one of the reasons I walk around grateful, because I'm totally aware of the very good fortune that I've had in life in so many arenas. Okay, so I want to share with you today something that actually happened this week on my radio show. I had a very special man. He plays a very important role in my life as a friend and as a colleague, Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla is an amazing man, a very bright, but there are a lot of bright people, but he's very clear, he's very decent, he's courageous, and he is among the funniest human beings that I have ever had the good fortune of hearing, let alone knowing. So Adam came to come on my show. We're talking about many things, including No Safe Spaces, the movie he and I have made, which if you haven't seen, please note this, that you should see it. It's at nosafespaces.com, and it is a very, very powerful film about freedom and especially free speech. So we talked a little bit about that. We talked about life and about America today and about neither of us walking around in fear. And he brought his son. And he has twin kids, a boy and a girl. He brought his son, who's 14. And talking to him during the break, I thought, I think I'll have him come on the radio. I'll have him speak. I asked Adam if that's okay with him. He was delighted. And he was remarkably mature and articulate and real. He's just a wonderful boy. And I asked him about school and what does he learn? And he spoke about, the constant barrage. These are my words, the constant barrage of propaganda that has substituted for real learning. That, America's an awful country, et cetera, et cetera. And he then mentioned that recently one of his teachers on Zoom, presumably, was talking about how wrong it is to stereotype any group. And the example given was, even if it's positive, so that if somebody says Asians are good students, that's wrong. It's wrong for two reasons. One, it's a stereotype. I'll come to that in a moment. And the other is, the teacher told his class, what if you're an Asian and you're not a good student? You don't feel included. This is one of the false gods of our time, this word inclusivity, which is it's a new idea. It's both an old idea and a new idea. The old idea was everybody's included as an American. E pluribus unum is one of the three mottos of America. Liberty, e pluribus unum, in God we trust. And obviously we want everybody included as an American who's an American citizen. So in that sense, it's great. But otherwise, it's not inherently a moral value. If I say, if you work hard, you are more likely to succeed in life. So I'm clearly not including people who don't work hard. Is that wrong? But I want you to join the group. It's up to you whether you'll be included, not up to me. If you would like to include yourself among the hard workers, welcome. But the fact that you're not included in that, of course you're not, because I've given a condition if you work hard. Anyway, so that was a little absurd, because you can't say Asians are good students because it doesn't include the Asian student who is not a good student. Okay. By the way, you could have said the same thing with regard to me. Generally speaking, Jews are good students. And I am a Jew, and I was a crappy student. And I would have been totally okay with it in high school. You're right. Most Jews get good grades. I'm a Jew, and I don't get good grades. Have a great day. I mean, I chose not to work hard in high school. I didn't care about grades. I cared about them in college, as it happens, but I didn't care about them in high school. I was much more interested in studying Russian on my own, in listening to shortwave broadcasts, radio broadcasts from all over the world, and classical music, and is there an afterlife? You know, the great philosophical questions. I was not interested in spending all my time getting A's. I wanted to spend all my time developing myself. And I thank God that I had that outlook on life. So this notion of, well, you're not included, that's not why stereotypes are wrong. Now, the other one is just stereotypes are wrong. But they never explain why. What if the stereotype is true? This is why I always say that truth is not a left-wing value. It's not to be insulting. It's a liberal value. It's a conservative value, but it's not a left-wing value. This is an example of it. What if the stereotype is accurate? Can I say tall people are better at basketball than short people? Is that a stereotype about tall people? There are a lot of tall people who can't play basketball well. I'm one of them too. I'm 6'4", and I was always lousy at basketball. I made my high school team because I was 6'4" and I wasn't in a wheelchair. That was the only reason I made the team. So this notion stereotypes are all by definition wrong. It doesn't make any sense to me. I gave the example on the air. If somebody were to say, you know, the French are known for their great cuisine, is that a stereotype? Yes. But it's true. And the English are not. The English are not known for their great cuisine. Nobody thinks, wow, we got to go to an English restaurant. I don't even know if such a thing exists. I guess, you know, a pub or a fish and chips place. But a French restaurant, an Italian restaurant, same thing, a German restaurant. Germans are not known for cuisine. They're known for manufacturing awesome vehicles and machinery. And likewise, the French are not known for awesome machinery. The Germans are. These are all stereotypes because they're true. Now, there are stereotypes that are untrue, and that's what matters. The issue is not never use a stereotype. The issue is it true? A question the left doesn't ask. This 14-year-old son of Adam Carolla is taught never make a stereotype. And then came my bombshell. So I said to him, oh, you're taught never to use stereotypes? Okay. Have you been told all whites are racist? And it was like a light bulb went on. The clouds parted. The sun shone through. Yeah. Oh. So you can't say Asian students are good, but you can say all, by the way, not most, not even just whites. All whites are racist. That's beyond stereotype. Stereotypes always imply there are exceptions. Everybody understands that. Not all tall people can play basketball, but nearly all basketball players are tall. So it's worse. It's not just whites are racist. All whites are racist. As he put it, because he has learned it, you either are an active Ku Klux Klan member or an inactive Ku Klux Klan member. Those were his words at 14. That's basically what it is. That's a lie. That's not just stereotype. That's just a pure lie. Most whites are not racist. Period. It's a gargantuan lie. So the same teacher who says, oh, you should never use a stereotype, in the next sentence will say, all whites are racist. This is the another example of the destruction of logic, of clear thinking. Not just that it's immoral to make a statement like that, which is a lie, but the lack of logic in the thought. You can't say Asians are good students, but you can't say all whites are racist. Isn't that something? So he's going to go back to his class and say, wasn't I told that? Can't make any stereotypes? So isn't that, it's worse than a stereotype. It's like a rule. I remember when I was in college, the same college teacher who would say, all morality is relative. What's good for you is good, and what's good for me is good. It's all subjective. Good and evil are subjective. And then the next class, he or she would say, because it was at that time that I was at college, the war in Vietnam is immoral. And I remember even saying, wait, I thought morality is all relative, but here you're making a declaration. You're not saying, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. You're declaring the war in Vietnam was immoral. Because there's no logical consistency. One of the tragedies of the educational system of the last generation or two is that you're not taught to think clearly. You're taught to feel, not to think. So if you feel it, that's all that matters. So that's the stereotype issue. Let's go to your questions, and we begin with the video question.
Hi Dennis, my name is Amir Odom. I'm 25 years old and I live right outside Washington, D.C. My question for you is, if you can go back in time and give advice to your 25-year-old self, what would you tell him? Let me know.
I'll let you know. Thank you, Amir. All right, let's get ready for the next one. So, it's a very interesting question. What would I tell now to my 25-year-old self? I'm a little hesitant because what I'm about to say can sound self-aggrandizing, but I rather tell you the truth and live with the consequences of what it sounds like than not tell you the truth. I was blessed at a very early age with a pursuit of wisdom. As early as high school, I wanted to know what was right. I knew I didn't. So I learned a great deal from wise people, both living and dead. That's why when my generation came up with one of its many idiocies, never trust anyone over 30, and I remember thinking, whoa, boy, I'm reading thinkers from 2,000 and 3,000 years ago. They're over 30. I think they're great. Moses, and just go forward. And, the great ancient the Greek and Roman thinkers, and of course, Jesus in the lives of so many Christians. And they're very old, considerably older than 30. In fact, I wasn't sure how much I could learn from people under 30. So that was a classic example of the baby boomer generation coming up with ideas that have had a terribly destructive impact on America. Anyway, so at 25, I had a lot of clear thoughts. I knew, for example, how important it would be to eventually get married. I knew how important it would be to try and have, and I did have 2 children. I would have liked more, but there's always, the human being could always wish for more. I'm very happy with what I have. I thank God for my sons and now 2 grandsons. And I knew a lot of the things that would help my life, and they did. And so I was doing well in life. I don't mean financially, doing well at a very early age. In fact, I was already lecturing at the age of 21, which is very rare. But there is something I would go back and tell 25-year-old Dennis, and that is be much more savvy in terms of finances. And I wasn't. I paid no attention to investing, to saving as I should have. And it was a mistake. And a lot of young people make that mistake because they're economically illiterate. Economic illiteracy is actually an issue. If you look it up on the internet, you'll see it's sort of a crisis because you're not taught what could better your life. You're taught to basically loathe America. I mean, that's what you sort of get your high school degree in now, and your college degree and your graduate degree. So that's what I would tell 25-year-old Dennis. Be financially literate, economically literate. It'll be better over the course of a lifetime. Okay. Here we go. Finley, 14 years old, Brisbane, Australia. Hi, Dennis. Big fan from Australia. Thank you. Just wanting to know, what do you think of the people saying that BLM isn't a political message, even though they clearly have a political agenda? I don't know. Who says that they don't have a political message? Their message certainly isn't what BLM stands for, Black Lives Matter. Okay? The Black Lives Matter, if the black life is ended by a white policeman, those are the only black lives that seem to matter. The far greater number of blacks killed in the inner city, usually by other blacks, they don't matter. So even the name isn't true. But this has been true of the left, but people are ignorant of the left. I'm not. I've studied it all of my life, and the left uses groups to gain power and to destroy the things in the Western world that they wish to destroy, which is almost everything. Communists said that they loved workers. Workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. We are the Workers' Party. And as soon as communists came into power, they suppressed every workers' union, killed union leaders, and made workers into slaves. Everyone in the Soviet Union was basically a slave of the state, except for the Communist Party leaders who lived great lives with homes called dachas around the country in nice spots. And they lived a great life, which is exactly what happens under every communist regime. So every group, every left-wing group uses the group that it talks in the name of in order to gain power. Young girls are being defeated by biological males in track and high school meets. And no feminist group that I'm aware of has come to the defense of the women. They talk in the name of women, but okay. Nathan, 20, New Orleans, Louisiana. Dear Mr. Prager, I have a question about a serious problem in the United States. About 7 million working-age American men ages 25 to 54 are not in the labor force. I'm taking your word for it, Nathan. I don't know the number, but I assume that it's a fairly large number. These men do not have jobs and are not looking for work. Why does this issue receive little attention? And do you have any solutions for this problem? May God bless you and everyone at PragerU. Thank you. Yes. The crisis of the American male, not just the American male, Japanese male, this is a crisis in the West with males. There's been an ongoing attack on masculinity, so much so that there's a term, toxic masculinity, which is, notice there's no toxic femininity. Have you noticed that? Only men being masculine is it toxic. Strong men are the most important model that boys can have. And they don't have them nearly as much as I had them when I was a boy. In the movies and in real life. Strong men, masculine men, men prepared to fight to protect their home, their family, and their country, as one example. When I was a kid, we would play with soldiers, toy soldiers, very common thing to play with. Not now. The woke don't want their boys playing with soldiers. Maybe the girls should play with soldiers. In England, I read this on my radio show, in England, the largest maker, is it of toys, or I think it's of toys, or of books? No, of books, actually, sorry, textbooks. Largest maker of textbooks in the United Kingdom is not going to show any male astronauts or anything like that. They will show men watering plants. I'm serious. This is the image. Women will be astronauts. Women will be, taking care of the physical demands of the house, and the men will be watering plants. And I don't remember the other examples, but they were similar. Walking the dog, and the like. So if that's what boys have to aspire to, watering plants, I don't think they're going to work very hard at becoming a man. If that's my future, plant waterer, I'd rather play a video game. The damage done by the left to men and women is incalculable. Michael, 41, Las Vegas, Nevada. Hey, Dennis, I've been aware of you for some time, but only recently became a listener to your Fireside chat. Please forgive the lateness. You are forgiven. It is not a sin, so you don't need forgiveness. Understand, I say this not to be mean to myself, but I consider myself to be a kind of dullard. I underperformed in school and was not a very good student overall. That being said, I do think I've developed into a decent critical thinker. My question is about the current structure of our political system, and if some things maybe have become archaic, like the idea that there be maximum term for elected officials. Shouldn't the election process be enough to do that? Okay, so these are two entirely separate issues. You're thinking of yourself as a dullard is one, and because you weren't a good student, and the other is, should there be term limits on people in politics, or shouldn't we just allow the public to decide when your time is up as a politician? There are good arguments on both sides, but I could speak only for America. The dream was that there would be no career politician. People would enter politics for a certain period of time after having been a success in life, having built a business, or having been a successful lawyer or teacher, or for that matter, raised a good family, which is the best thing on earth you can do. So that was the dream, not to have career politicians. As regards your self-image, that there's no, it's not synonymous, not good at school and dullard. I wasn't good at school. As I often say in speeches, I graduated in the top 80% of my high school class. I hope everybody understands what that means. When I say that at a speech, there's not much of a reaction. Then I'm silent. People start laughing, and the laughter grows as more and more people realize what the top 80% means, the bottom 20. So as I explained earlier, I knew that there were more important things for me to do than schoolwork, and I turned out to be right. It has truly benefited my life. But I would not have thought of myself as a dullard just because I wasn't a good student. This is a certain silliness in our time that everything revolves around getting good grades. Why? Character is infinitely more important than good grades. Infinitely. How's our time?
26.
Good. Michael, 22, Hamburg, Germany. Been to Hamburg many times. Dear Mr. Prager, I hope you are healthy and doing fine. I am, thank you. Vielen Dank. Today, I have a difficult question for you. I met a girl a few months ago, and so far things are going well between us. And how old are you? 22. Good. The other day, we joked about having kids. I'm not sure why you joked, but I understand what you mean. Since she is Jewish, she would, of course, raise the children Jewish. Since I am Catholic, I would rather raise them Catholic. What would you do? Kind regards. It's an insoluble dilemma. It's a very painful arena of life where a wonderful member of one faith falls in love with a wonderful member of another faith. Very often, it's not like that, though. Very often, you will have, let's say in this case, let's say you would have a Jew and a Catholic, let's just say. So very often, the Jew may not care about raising the kids Jewish, and the Catholic might. So you have a sort of solution there. Very often, the Catholic doesn't care and said, oh, that's if it really matters to him or her, raise the kids as Jews, I don't care. So you don't have that situation where one doesn't care. Yours is actually somewhat more rare situation where both do care. Often neither care or one doesn't care. But in your case, both do care. So it's a very difficult question. And I wish I have a lot of answers, but I can't answer the unanswerable. Look, the ideal is, obviously, if you're a committed Catholic, to find another committed Catholic. Because even if you didn't have kids, you would want to share something that important to you. Remember, I'm talking about people for whom their religion is important. So a committed Catholic would like to share Catholicism with their spouse. Committed Jew would like to share Judaism with their spouse. On the other hand, I fully understand, and I've seen it, where love, there's nothing as powerful as love. I mean, especially the when you fall in love, it takes over you chemically. It is, I used to think, I don't know how you'll react to this, but I used to think that hate was stronger than love. I'm not speaking about me. I've never, ever had a hatred that competed with love for power in my life. But in the human species, the power of hate is very, very deep. And it seemed to me that it could well be more powerful than love. But in fact, I think nothing quite rivals love for the power of taking you over. There are exceptions to all generalizations, but I think that is true. So I totally get it why the two of you would find this a difficult issue indeed. So let me know what happens. And now?
30.
30 on the dot. I have wonderful questions here. But it is better to leave you wanting more than not. Or as I often say in speeches, I've always believed that it's better for the lecturer to leave before the audience does. Is that fair? All right, everybody. I'm Dennis Prager, and this is Otto, who's been... How have you been? Has he been out the whole time?
He adjusted once.
He adjusted his body once, yeah. He's a lovable animal. There's no lovable dog. There's no way around it. Okay, thanks for being with me. I'm Dennis Prager, and I will see you next week. Thank you for watching this video. To help keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.